Tapes from New Jersey. It's the SNL Nerds, a show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson. What's going on?
You just seem to lose all enthusiasm in the middle of that. You were just like, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out about Saturday night.
I was trying to be smooth with it.
It just sounded like you were you just got deflated emotionally.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we didn't finish the intro. We should give our names.
Yeah, I'm Darren Patterson.
I'm your co-host, John Trumbull, and Darren just is amusing me right from the rip.
Yeah,
this week.
I'm an amusing person. I'm delightful.
You really are. You really are. We actually, we got to see each other physically on Thursday.
Yes, we were physical.
Yeah. I went out to Just Jake's in Montclair because the Non-Productive comedy show, they do a monthly comedy show there in Montclair, New Jersey. And you were one of the comics at their first show back.
Yeah. It was a show that we do in Montclair, but of course we stopped, because the world died. And
Yes.
it's a show that I'm starting to run now with my good friend Evan Morgenstern and the one and only Mr. John Minus. And I think while we were out, I was talking to both of them, and I think John was like, should we get this show started again? And I was like, yeah, we should. People enjoy the show. People need to laugh. People need laughter.
Mm-hmm.
And last or this a couple days ago, that was our first show back, our big return. The place was packed out. All the
Mm-hmm.
comics did hilariously. We had a past guest, Natty Bumper Car, there in attendance.
Yes.
Friends of the podcast, Brad and Katie from the Decomposition podcast, which hopefully will be starting up again soon. And it was a delightful evening had by all.
Yeah, it was a good night. You did very well. It was fun for me because I got to see a lot of newish material from you that I haven't seen you do before. So most of the jokes you did were new to me.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of those jokes I have done before, but I knew that a lot of people haven't heard them yet. So I was like, all right, well, I'll go through these, and I know these things will knock it out the park.
Yeah.
So I just swag it on up to the mic. I crushed as always. Dropped the
Mm-hmm.
microphone like Dave Chappelle and just sauntered out that bitch.
You were gangsta.
Yeah.
You were gangsta. Yeah. So I took a picture of you and me, and then I took a picture of you, me, and our super producer Frank Kablawi, because it is kind of rare these days that all of us are in the same place at the same time.
It is. It's one of those things where I'm just starting now to sort of getting back into the swing of, seeing my comedian friends and doing the hang after. Because I
Mm-hmm.
used to do it all the time, back when I had that, that grind, that hustle where I just do all the shows in Brooklyn and,
Yeah.
in Jersey and, Rockland County, wherever. And I was like, oh yeah. And I used to do that, but then of course the world died and then I just stopped doing it. And I was just, staying at home watching YouTube videos. So the last show we did, it was it was all coming back to me. I was starting to feel the familiar feelings of, oh yeah, I
You were
remember
like a
this.
Celine Dion song.
Yes, if you love me like this, and then I hear just like that.
Just
It
like
all
that.
it all came back to me. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah. It's
this.
like you getting the cobwebs out, riding a bike. Yeah, I'm not there yet. I haven't. I gotta get it back up there sometime soon. After my life stabilizes a bit more. I mean, and I'm not gonna get into it all again. I went into it last week
Mm.
at the end of the show. So, but yeah, I gotta wait for the rest of my life to kind of get back to normal before I can really get back on stage on a regular, semi-regular basis. I think.
No, understood. You have to do you. Self care comes
Mm-hmm.
first, and then once you're stable, you can hit up some open mics and
Yeah.
be amongst like-minded, stable-minded people.
Yeah, stable in every sense of the word.
Yes. See, listeners. The joke is, if you ever go to an open mic, you'll hear some of the most unstable, wacky people you ever meet in your life.
Yep,
Yep.
yep. A lot of comedians, they've got problems, they've got issues, they've got, and yeah, I count myself among that.
A lot of open micers just need a hug.
Yeah, really, truly.
Just Just a hug and to know that they're loved. That's all they really need.
Yep.
They don't need a drink ticket. They need
We should start an open mic that just has a group hug at the end. Everybody gets a hug at the end of their set. I would go to that mic, man.
just a hug, just them silently sobbing into your shoulder. Just
Yes.
like
That is so needed in the comedy community.
like
Yes, we
like
should do that.
why won't she love me?
Just at the end of every comedian's set, the host comes out, hugs the comic, and says, "It's not your fault."
God. Not you too, host, not you.
Yeah.
No way, not you.
So, all right. Well, why don't we get to the point of this
Yes.
podcast, which is us talking about Saturday Night Live. This week, we're, of course, doing Dave Chappelle and Black Star, season 48, episode 6 from November 12th, 2022.
Yeah, this was an episode, like, I'll admit, like, I was kind of dreading this
Hmm.
episode, because when it was announced, people were like, "Uh-oh," because of
Yeah.
course, he's David said some not so great things about trans people, very transphobic stuff I
Yeah.
don't agree with or align with at all.
Right.
So,
Me neither. Me neither.
yes, yes. So, yeah,
I
you
want
too.
to clarify that both of us do not align with that.
Oh, right, yeah, I should say that. Yeah, um, and
The way you cue that up, it was like you were getting ready for me to go. I disagree, but no, yeah, unfortunately had to,
right,
block some people on the Twitter account this week, the SNL Nerds Twitter account, just because people are
yeah.
coming in hot from both sides.
Yeah, a lot of lot of hot takes on this one because, like I said, like wasn't really looking forward to it,
Yeah,
especially since on Monday, Celeste Yim put out something on her on their
right.
Instagram saying,
Yeah,
talking about coming out as trans and like it wasn't
and that they use they them pronouns, and then I believe Celestium wrote uh, transphobia is murder, and
well, here, let me.
yeah,
I'll see if I can pull it up. But yeah, she put out something that wasn't, she didn't mention Chappelle by name or
right.
anything like that, but it is interesting that she put this out the week that Chappelle was hosting. All right, so or
Well,
they,
it was very telling, and there was also reports that some people on the writing staff, and I don't have a list or anything, were boycotting this week.
yeah, I don't. I think that might have been debunked. I don't think that
I
happened.
don't. Yeah, I don't know if that's a rumor or not. Chappelle's people were definitely denying that.
Right. All right. So Celestium
But
put up on her Instagram store on their God damn it on their Instagram stories. I'm trans and non-binary. I use they them pronouns. Transphobia is murder and it should be condemned.
mhm,
And then we retweeted that, because we
yeah,
stand in solidarity. We got back some.
yeah, and I wrote something like, "Oh, we're sure it's just a chill week at 30 Rock." Um,
Right,
and then just to make it clear where we fell on this, I included the hashtag trans rights or human rights.
right, and
And I ran that by you, and you
yep,
said, "Yeah, that's good. Go with it." And so I said, "Okay, yeah, let's do that." Um, and yeah, and then we got retweeted by someplace, and I think that drew some fire towards us. Not in a big way, but
yeah,
enough,
exactly
enough to be irritating.
exactly, yeah, it
Yeah.
got rough. It is weird how, like, the people who, a certain group of people who say, "Oh, the left is a bunch of snowflakes. They're so sensitive. They can't take a joke." But when we retweet something that's like very genuine like this, they see
Hmm.
it as like an affront to them. They get as triggered by something like that
Yeah.
as the left, snowflake that they complain about get triggered about certain jokes
Hmm.
and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird they don't see the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
I mean, that crowd, they don't seem to be terribly open-minded, and yeah, they
mm.
don't they don't have great irony detectors.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah, so let's say that.
Yeah, So that happened, and also Bone Yang put out on his Instagram stories. I think like the next day, transphobia results in trans suicidality. The
Uh huh.
people most likely to kill themselves are black trans people, and then non-black trans people. Again, it's not any. Chappelle isn't mentioned by name, but it
Right.
is interesting that he would put this out the week that Chappelle was hosting. So it's like their sort of
Yeah,
own little.
and I was going to mention this later on, but might be a good place to say it. I did notice that Bowen was not on stage during the Good
Yeah.
Nights. He was not sharing a stage with Dave Chappelle. Bowen was in the opening sketch, which, as per usual, the host was not in. And I
Yeah.
don't remember Bowen popping up much again. Did he do anything directly with Chappelle?
No, he did not.
Okay, well, so maybe that's the answer to the question. I don't know.
Yeah, Bowen was just in the cold open, and that was it,
Hmm.
which is interesting because he's one of the rising stars of SNL. He's usually in a lot of stuff, so
Yeah.
the fact that he's only in the cold open is very telling.
Hmm. And I
Uh,
think the fact that he wasn't at Good Nights
yeah,
on
that
home
too.
base, I think that said a lot.
Indeed, indeed. So with all these things happening, I think I even texted you at one point, like, I'm getting nervous. I don't know about this episode. I'm feeling, I got a bad feeling about this, boss.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay. He is using boss as slang. I am not Darren's boss.
yeah, I know. I'm just using as a like slang, a pejorative or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's an affectionate nickname.
exactly. Yes, he's my yeah. John's my Bruce
You call me
Springsteen.
boss. That's not a good look, Darren.
Yeah, I know. John's the Bruce Springsteen to my Clarence Clemens. He's the boss. Uh, but yeah, so like I was feeling very nervous about this episode. I didn't know what he was going to
Right.
say. I didn't know how hot he was going to come in.
Right.
Um, and I will say, I still stand by what I've said before. I don't agree with his transphobic the things he said, his transphobic
Hmm.
stance, his jokes. I thought came across very angry in his last few specials. I don't stand by any of that. And that being said, in my opinion, I think this was the strongest episode we've had all season so far.
Yeah, I would agree. I will give the devil its due. Yeah. Uh, I didn't have a great deal of fear or concern that Chappelle would do anti-trans stuff on SNL because I just think he has more sense than that. I think
Yeah,
he's smart enough and savvy enough to realize this is not the forum for it. Like that's a thing I do in my specials. I'm not trying to justify that. I'm just saying he's smart enough to know that.
right. I would say that because like yeah, the whole trans thing doesn't get brought up at all in his monologue. It doesn't get
Yeah,
brought up.
I have thoughts on the monologue, and we'll get
Ooh,
into that in a minute. But first, we should talk about the cold open.
let's do it. Cold open.
So okay, so we got the Fox and Friends cold open, and we've got who was it? We had Mikey and Heidi and Bowen as the hosts of the Fox and Friends.
Yeah, and of course, it's them talking about the midterms that just passed. How before that, everybody was talking about, oh, it's going to be a big red wave, big red wave. It's going to be Republicans galore,
Mhm. Yeah,
and that did not happen. The Democrats performed quite well, and I believe the Democrats still have control of the Senate as of this
yeah,
recording. I think like they won in Nevada and another place, if not
yeah.
mistaken.
The latest I've heard, and we're recording this on Sunday afternoon on the 13th, the day after the SNL. I've heard that the Democrats should have control of the Senate and they might get control of the House. I mean, but honestly, it's like, and it's barely a majority. It's basically like 50-50.
Mm.
But for a midterm, when it usually goes big towards the other side, that's kind of huge.
Yeah. So this whole red wave thing turned out to be, you know, very conflated. All the candidates that Trump endorsed lost, and so now what we're seeing is a lot of people kind of backing away from Trump. Like,
Hmm.
uh, I mean, I don't watch Fox at all, but apparently, like Fox News is sort of kind of turning their back on Trump. They even on in the sketch, they even brought up a real headline that they have in the New York Post where it said like Trumpty Dumpty, making fun of him and just kind of saying he's a
Right.
loser now,
I
which is a
think
real one. Like I didn't even like I did see
yeah.
that newspaper in the store one day, and I was like, oh, is the New York Post? Because New York Post was like a huge into Trump. They were like super
Right.
MAGA. So like now to see
I
them
think what
mock
happened
him.
is like Rupert Murdoch pulled that lever in his office that's in whichever level of hell his office is in. He pulled that lever just and like a big sign went up at Fox News and all the right wing outlets saying like we dislike Trump now. And this sketch it kind of made the point that they don't dislike Trump because of any of the heinous shit he's done. They dislike him because he's loose and now he's like a burden on the party.
Yeah, and that's even more disgusting. That rubs me the wrong way even
Yeah,
more.
yeah. I think that's a great point to make.
It is
So I think the audience was really hot.
very hot audience, very
Hot
hot.
audience, lots of laughs. They're killing with the material. We had Cecily Strong come on as Arizona candidate Carrie Lake, and I think that race is still in question at the time we're recording this.
I
And
believe
she's
so.
showing up as Carrie Lake again in the soft focus. Again, Cecily's just killing it.
She's a strong performer, no pun intended.
Claiming that the election is rigged unless she's winning, and they go back and forth because like all these races seem to be so close. It seems like most anybody who won just won by a little over 50, and I don't know if that's a reflection of the genuine divide in our country or if it's more of a reflection of gerrymandering where they're redrawing all the districts.
It might be both. I don't know.
It could be both. It could be both.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it is so weird, like in this country, like how kind of antiquated our voting system is. Like we can order
mhm,
food and car service through an app, like with no problem. But when it
yeah,
comes to something like choosing our democracy and choosing the person who's gonna like be enacting laws, no, no, you got to go to this high school auditorium and pull a lever
yeah.
that some 90-year-old man is manning. It's
I
like,
will
ugh.
say that when I went to vote on Tuesday, and I went to vote in person, I voted in advance through the mail before, but I just didn't do it on this election. They have in my district, they've upgraded the systems a bit. Like every worker has like basically an iPad to set you up, and
Oh,
you sign on there and all that. They gave me like a physical sheet to
mm.
insert into the voting machine, and then after I enter in my votes, it prints out those how I voted on the sheet behind a screen, and then after I say yes, you got that correct, that paper zips off, and so that was new for
Yeah,
me.
I think I mean, I say the lever pulling thing, but, like,
Hmm.
I'll admit, like, when I voted, it was pretty much the same thing, like, we signed it on an iPad, they gave
Right.
me a piece of paper with a marker, I filled in the circles, and then I put the paper in, like, this big machine that looks like a dumpster, pretty much, but but it was a machine, it wasn't an actual
Yeah,
dumpster,
they
and
weren't literally putting your votes in a dumpster.
yes,
No.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I mean, I'm just used to remembering seeing those old school voting machines from the '60s just being
Uh-huh.
around until at least like 2017 or so.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I've definitely seen upgrades in my area. But oh, okay. Well, let's get back to the
Yeah,
sketch.
yeah. Uh,
I felt like the energy dipped a little bit when they had James Austin Johnson come in as Trump calling in.
yeah. Like it is weird with. I feel so bad for James because he has this perfect Trump impression, but it's just
Right.
coming in at a time where no one wants to hear from Trump anymore.
He's kind of missed his window
Yeah,
because he didn't come on to the show until after the Trump years ended, and I feel like um, honestly, I look at Trump now the like at the end of a horror movie where you think the killer is dead, but he hasn't come back to life yet, but he's going to come back for that one last scare.
yeah. You
And I
got
feel like the audience at SNL at least was similarly exhausted with Trump, and it's no reflection on James's impression or his performance.
no, it's a pitch perfect Trump. It's like
Yeah,
it's really good. It's just no one wants to hear that anymore. Like we're
but
done
yeah,
with that.
even when I see impressions of Trump and or jokes about Trump, it's just I've so long ago reached my threshold on that dude
Yeah,
that even with like good impressions, I'm just like, oh no,
yeah.
I don't want to deal with that.
Not
I don't
today.
want I don't want to be reminded he exists.
Yeah, but I will admit, like, I mean, even though there was maybe a dip in the
Hmm.
energy, I did think James Austin Johnson was pretty funny in Trump because he
Yeah,
was
he
playing.
was. He was.
Yeah, because he was playing Trump at because I didn't even know this was happening, but Trump's daughter Tiffany got married this weekend, so he played Trump at his
Yeah.
daughter's wedding, and
Hmm.
of course the Fox News people are trying to play it off like they don't really want to talk to him because he's a loser now.
Right.
But I do like the things where it's like, hey, don't you have to go to your daughter's wedding now? And he was like, oh no, it's fine. They're just doing the vows.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just doing the vows, and like Heidi at one point she goes, "Don't you need to walk her down the aisle?" And he goes, "Yeah, missed it." The joke being that Trump is more concerned about calling into Fox News than he is about his least favorite daughter getting married.
Oh
So
boy, I yeah, pretty much.
yeah. So I thought it was pretty good. I thought the stuff before Trump came on was a little more solid, and I think the audience was definitely responding to that more. But pretty good. Uh,
Yeah, wasn't
all things.
long, wasn't long, which I like.
Yeah,
I like
I'm
this.
glad we don't have those sprawling cold opens anymore. This was 650 on YouTube, so
It's,
that's still kind of lengthy.
it's
But
not terrible. It's not like what it used to be.
yeah, it's not like 7, 8, 9 minutes
Yeah,
where it's
but
just like, oh,
yeah, just when I
and
yeah, so it didn't feel like it was just kind of
yeah,
just kind of running in circles, which I appreciate.
and
I like
and I
this new
think part of
trend.
the reason was that because they knew they had Dave Chappelle, a really strong stand up on, and usually when they have a really strong stand up on, they let them do like a full 10, 15 minute monologue, and this week was no exception.
Yeah, all right, so
Uh,
let's go into it. Monologue,
Monologue. So
monologue,
monologue, monologue, monologue.
monologue, monologue.
Um, Chappelle, when he came out, did you notice this? He didn't come out to the SNL theme. Like they transitioned from the SNL opening theme to a New Orleans style funeral march.
I did notice it. It sounded like the opening of "Try a Little Tenderness" by Otis Redding, if I'm not mistaken,
Okay, okay.
which I thought was very. I've never seen the
I have
band do
never
that.
seen that before. I've never seen the house band transition from the SNL, and it's a big up energy theme to something kind of downbeat. And he Chappelle comes out very slowly. I don't know what that was. I guess that was a joke that I just didn't quite get or something, or they were trying something that didn't quite work. I just didn't get where that was coming from.
I mean, it felt like something he requested. Maybe he wanted to like set the
Yeah.
tone for
Well,
his
he starts
set.
out his monologue by saying, "I have to read a brief statement," and he takes it out a piece of paper and he says, like, "I denounce anti-Semitism in all its forms," and then he folds up the paper and says, "And that, Kanye, is how you buy yourself some time." So maybe he was just doing that to make it look like he was coming out to start his monologue with an apology, I guess.
I'm not sure what the. I mean, I'm assuming it was something he asked for to set the tone. But yeah, I can't.
Yeah,
But yeah, either way, it was a very interesting choice. I'll say.
it was an interesting choice. I don't think it entirely worked.
Not really, but I
He
will
spent,
say. I mean, I will say it's interesting. Like he. I mean, you'll probably go into it, but yeah, he
mhm.
starts talking, making jokes about the Jewish people, which something I said in the last episode that he might do, and sure enough,
Yeah,
here we are.
about half the monologue was all about Kanye West, or Ye, I guess as he's calling himself now, um, and him being very anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and basically it was basically about how the Jews just. Well, I shouldn't say that. Jesus Christ,
yeah,
the Jewish people just sort of immediately sort of cut him off and took his money or took his
yeah.
deals back and
He
whatnot.
he had a good line. He said, one thing I've learned is you should never put the words "the" and "Jews" together because it's never going to end well.
I That's why I walked that right back. What I said.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I knew what you meant.
Whew.
Um, and and he talks about this a lot, and I thought it was very impressive that he went on this while ignoring the huge elephant that was standing behind him in the same room.
Mm,
I just
yeah.
It was
It was
him like all this commenting on Kanye when he has his own shit. It's a weird look, man.
it is. I think it's like you said. It's one of those things where it's like, well, I could talk about of course, the trans thing and everything,
Right.
but that that would make everything a little uncomfortable, or maybe he just didn't have a good take on it, or he didn't. I don't know.
I
It,
don't
it,
know. I
it
don't
just
know.
it,
Like to
yeah.
avoid all the backlash he's gotten on the trans stuff, and then just spend probably at least 7 minutes his monologue on Kanye and the anti-Semitic stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
It's weird. It's a choice. I
it's a
don't quite
choice.
get the choice, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is a choice, and I think maybe because it's sort of more in the zeitgeist right now, of course, with
Hmm.
Kyrie Irving and Kanye, and
Yeah, I
how,
mean that stuff has definitely gotten more press.
yeah, like he even made a joke about how Kanye got into so much trouble that Kyrie Irving got in trouble.
Yeah, and that I mean that's funny. That's a funny observation. It's a funny line. He had funny lines. He was like, "Oh
Yeah,
yeah, Adidas was founded by Nazis and they were offended."
yeah, which is something I didn't even. I think I knew, but I didn't remember until he mentioned it, and then I
Yeah,
looked it
I
up.
didn't. I didn't do the googling to fact check that.
Yeah,
I'll give
apparently,
him the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, he knows what he's talking about, but I don't know.
yeah, apparently, like it was Adidas was founded in Germany, and the person who founded it was like a German cobbler, and I believe his name was Adolf Dassler, and
Oh, great. Okay, well,
he did, yeah, he was a member of the Nazi Party. So, but I think, yeah,
well,
yeah, I think Adidas has come forward and said, yeah, that is true. Our founder was a Nazi, but we denounce him and everything. Like they're definitely
yeah.
trying to sever ties between them and the founder. But yeah, I think, and I also looked it up. I saw that uh, the founder of Adidas, he had a brother and he founded Puma sneakers, which I thought was interesting too. And
Huh.
he was also a member of the Nazi Party, which
Big Nazi
is,
family. Okay.
yeah. So I don't think about that next time you
The
go shoe shopping.
honestly, the older you get, the more you find out that like everything is horrible to some degree.
Yep,
There's something heinous in almost everybody's closet.
that's right. Everybody's got a horrible past.
Yeah. Um, so then finally Chappelle like kind of moves on to other topics. He talks about the midterms. He mentioned Herschel Walker is observedly stupid, which I thought was a nice way to put it.
Yeah,
Um,
I did like that.
yeah, he points out that the Trump era is not over. He says like, "Hey, I live in Ohio. People in Ohio have never seen anything like Trump because he's an honest lion." He says like, "I know the system is rigged because I used it." And
Yeah, which is
he has, I mean, Chappelle as a stand-up, he does have really interesting takes on topics.
he does. Like I think there was that one joke he said where he talked about, yeah, he had like documents all over his house, and
How Trump
and
did.
Trump did. He had Trump, he had all
Yeah.
those documents at Mar-a-Lago, and then he said like that looks suspicious because like, look, I've had number of jobs and I've been let go from a number of jobs before, and I've stolen from jobs. And you know the one
Hmm.
thing I never steal from work, work. I thought
Yeah.
that was a solid line. I'll give him
That's a
that.
great line. That's a great line. I also liked his line about how Trump colluding with Russia or allegedly colluding Russia, I guess I should say. Um, and he says, Melania is like the woman that James Bond would smash but not trust. I thought that's a great line.
It's a good
Um,
line. It's
I love it when I hear a comedian talking on current events, and it makes me laugh, but I also have a moment where I go, "Huh, I never looked at it from that angle. That makes a decent point."
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, and that's I guess the dichotomy with Chappelle. Like he'll say like
Yeah,
these certain things that I don't agree with, but then he'll say some other things that are like, oh, that's actually a really interesting take on it. So it's one of those.
yeah,
It's
and I
mm,
and I don't demand that I always agree with a comedian's point of view. If you're a really skillful comedian, you can make me laugh even when I vehemently disagree with you.
right.
Um,
I mean,
because a good joke's a good joke.
that's true. I did like how he ended it, where he's talking about how white people are now kind of at the place where black people have been at for years, where white
Hmm.
people are like, "Oh, you can't trust the government. I can't feed my family," and black people are like, "Yeah,
Right.
we've been we've been there. We've been talking about that." Or
Yeah.
white people like, "Oh, we gotta dismantle the FBI," and black people are like, "Yeah, we've been saying that since MLK got shot. Like,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just catching up now."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kind of similar to that famous sketch that he did after the 2016 election, where Chris Rock had a cameo, and I
Right.
think it was Cecily Strong's character was like, "Guys, I think America's racist," and Chappelle and Chris Rock are going, "Oh, really? You think so? Hmm. Okay."
You don't say. Huh.
Um,
Yeah. I think I
there was
was
also a weird thing that he said earlier on, where he said that Jewish people have been through terrible stuff, but you can't blame that on Black Americans. And I
yeah.
heard that. I heard that, and I was just like, "Is that a thing?"
I
And maybe I'm showing off my ignorance here, but is that a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's see again. This is like this is where
Yeah.
I'm so split on Chappelle. Like I said, he does say those jokes that I do like that I just said, like
Right.
FBI and whatnot. But then he'll say something like that. I mean, if you want to go
And
back
you're like,
to
"Eh."
yeah, he did say a few things about the Jewish community where I was like like
Yeah.
like the like the relationship black people and Jewish have had for that throughout the years. I mean, if you just look into all the things that have happened in Crown Heights in Brooklyn,
Hmm.
it's uh it's pretty dicey. And like
Yeah.
I
Okay. Yeah.
don't agree with that part he said, but
So, I mean, my basic feeling is it was a strong monologue. He's still a great stand up, but he also needs to look at his own shit.
yes, I think yes, I
That's
will
the
agree with
bottom
that.
line for me.
Yeah, I think I said that before where he kind of comes across as sort of this sort of I don't want to say know it all, but definitely like maybe a bit of a know it all where he kind of is very
Hmm.
he kind of knows everything and everything he says is true and he's just spitting the truth. But
Right.
I would love for him to be a little bit more introspective and maybe look into more why he thinks the things he thinks. Like I think
Yeah.
he also had that joke about how, he has been to Hollywood and yeah, there are a lot of Jews there.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean anything, but like he understands how people could make the connection about how they run how Jewish people run Hollywood just because there's a bunch of people in Hollywood. But then again, that doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah.
and then he
I mean,
goes on to say, yeah,
that's not a great insight. You
yeah,
know?
I know it's not. But then he goes on to
Yeah.
say, well, there's a lot of black people in Ferguson, Missouri. That doesn't mean that black people are running the city.
Right. Yeah. True. So,
Like he walks that line. He kind
yeah.
of goes over it a little bit, I think,
Hmm. Hmm.
in this monologue. Um,
Yeah. So,
I-
some mixed feelings on the monologue from both of us, I think.
yeah, I would say
And
so.
I know, I know, it seems like we've been spending a long time on just the opening sketch and the monologue, but this was a third of the show. We are now a half hour into the show. The show is a third over already.
I will say, yeah, this was a very short show. It felt short.
Well, it's just because the monologue was so damn long.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, because it was. I looked at my clock, and it was close to midnight when Chappelle finished his monologue, and I was like, "Wow, okay."
We got to wrap this up.
Hmm.
All right, so yeah, first sketch. Let's get into it.
First sketch. It's called Potato Hole.
Mm.
This is taking place during a TV news magazine show called PM in the Afternoon, which that title is so dumb it is genius. Whoever I don't have the this week's writers up on my screen. Do you have the?
Give me 1 minute. I will find them
Yeah.
because they were put up. But well, you
Okay.
keep talking about. It. I'll find it.
Yeah. So we've got Heidi and Andrew as the hosts of this sketch, and then Dave Chappelle is on there as uh, blues musician Willie T. Hawkins, and
Right.
his sketch is called "In My Potato Hole."
The album he has.
Yeah, or excuse me, yeah, the album he's promoting is called "In My Potato Hole,"
Right.
and the hosts, of course, they seize on this unusual title, and they're like, "Oh, what's a potato hole?" And they're assuming it's some sort of sexual euphemism. They're like, "Oh, well, could I do this in my potato hole? Can we say potato hole on TV? Can I touch my wife on her potato hole?" And they're trying
Right.
to do that morning show or afternoon show thing of keeping it light, but still like vaguely sexual.
Right. Then it goes over to Chloe, who's the weather girl or weather woman, and she
Hmm.
says it's the same thing. She says, she talks about the weather, and then she works in. Oh, you gotta. It's raining out. You be careful to hopefully keep your potato hole dry. I just
Hmm.
love saying potato. It's just a fun word to say.
Right,
Uh,
right.
then we go to Michael Longfellow, new cast
Hmm.
member who's like the sports guy. I like how he came in where he's talking about the PGA is in full swing. Pun.
Yeah.
And then of course he talks about potato hole as well, and then suddenly the whole news gang needs to know what the definition of potato hole, which is something
Hmm.
that the blues man does not really want to get into, but they're
Yeah, he's sort of saying, "Oh, I don't want to get into it." And again, the hosts are assuming it's something sexual, and the turn here I really did not see coming because like literally right before the turn, I wrote in my notes because I wasn't enjoying the sketch too much. I was just like,
mm,
"Oh, this is another one of those sketches where we just do this one thing and we just beat this one joke for however many minutes it is." And I literally wrote in my notes, "What is happening with the sketches they're picking to lead off the show?" Because I up until this point I was like, "Oh, this is kind of a weak sketch."
yeah, no, I agree.
And then Chappelle finally they just kind of browbeat him into saying, and he just says, "A potato hole is where slaves used to hide their food from plantation owners." So they could hang on to like one bit of their humanity, and everyone is just like horrified.
Right, and I looked it up, and that is a thing. Like a potato hole was like they dig a hole in the ground, keep your food and possessions that the slaves used
Right.
to do, and yeah, I love the turn. I thought this turn was fantastic.
I think it was a genius turn. I did not see it coming at all. So the term potato hole, I'm assuming, was new to you as well.
Unfortunately, yeah, I didn't know about it, but and then I looked it up. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
this actually was a thing.
yeah. I mean, I figured it had to be true because it was just so specific and so horrifying. I was like, that has to be a real thing.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and of course that now everybody in the newsroom is devastated and
right,
yeah, and then of course Heidi's like, oh, so you want to play us out with tasty lick, and of
and
course,
he's like, no, no, I do not.
yep. And we're out, and then end the
and we're
sketch.
and I liked how abruptly it ended. I loved how abrupt the turn was. I loved how I mean they suckered me into thinking that they were serving up one kind of comedy sketch, and then at the very end, boom, just lay a haymaker on you, and they hit you with that. I mean that was just genius. That
Yeah,
was genius. This was written by Mike D. DeCenzo and Jake Nordwind, by the way.
yeah, but I agree with you. Like I for a minute I thought them all saying potato hole. I was like, all right, where is this going? And but
Hmm.
then I realized, like after the turn comes, I was like, oh, they needed that in order to like really hit
Right.
for that turn to hit hard.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
makes sense. And then like the fact that it was like super short, they just said that one joke and got out of there. I thought totally helped
Yeah,
with
this
the joke.
one thing I really admire about the sketch, it did not overstay its welcome. It's a 3.5 minute sketch.
Right. So yeah, I really liked this sketch. I thought it was
Hmm.
fantastic. Thumbs up.
Really good, strong opening to the show or to the sketch section, I should say.
Absolutely.
All right, so next we have a pre-tape called House of the Dragon. Um, it looks like there's a little confusion as to who wrote this. It's on Reddit. They're crediting Colin Jost with the introduction, but they don't know who wrote the rest of the sketch. So that's still up in the air. I would not be surprised if some Chappelle's Show writers were involved with this.
Yeah, that's another thing about this episode. It felt very much like a old episode of Chappelle's Show. It didn't really feel
Yeah,
like SNL at all. Real well, some parts did, but for the most part, it didn't. Just because they were also messing with
I
the
think
format a little bit, which we'll
I
get into
think it
later.
was kind of a melding of their sensibilities.
Mm.
It seemed like a decent mix between SNL and Chappelle's Show to me.
Yeah.
And
All right.
I think they achieved that in some sketches better than others.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, this one was just kind of it was talking like it starts out with Dave Chappelle introducing it like it's a Chappelle Show sketch, and that really gave the feel of the old Chappelle Show.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um,
And then he
because
it's him talking about Game of Thrones or the House of
yeah,
Dragons and Game of
which
Thrones
is the Game
spinoff.
of Thrones prequel.
Yes.
And he's saying, and it kind of weirds me out because we've got all these black characters with blonde hair, and it's unusual. And we start out, we've got Keenan, Ego, and Punky, all as black characters with white hair, um, and they're just interacting, and they're making their Game of Thrones gags. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
Dave comes on there as his old Chappelle show character, Silky Johnson.
Yeah. It is weird. Like I thought like the sketch would start off with them kind of making fun of House of Dragons, and then it kind of
Mhm.
takes this turn where it's Chappelle kind of reintroducing his old Chappelle show characters.
Right.
You know.
And it's similar to a thing he did when he hosted it in 2016, where they did a Walking Dead sketch, and he brought on a lot of his Chappelle show's characters. So
Yeah.
I guess he just likes revisiting those characters, or maybe he's like, my audience expects me to bring these characters with me.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, he brought back Silky Johnson, the
Yeah.
player hater from the Player Haters Ball sketch. We got a Ice T cameo, where
Well, we also got Donnell Rawlings from Chappelle Show.
yes, Donnell Rawlings too.
Yeah.
Too like I mean, him and Chappelle are super tight, so that made
Hmm.
sense that he would be in the sketch as well.
Yeah.
Um, then we had Chappelle as his Tyrone Biggums character, the crack addict.
Well,
Uh,
they identified him as, oh yeah, well Ice T came on as light skinned Larry Targaryen, and yeah, and then Chappelle was Tyrone Biggums, his crack addict character, and then Rick James.
yeah, like I mean, if you're a fan of the Chappelle Show, you remember the Rick James episode. That's probably one
I
of
think
their
even if you're not a fan of Chappelle's show, you're familiar with the Rick James sketch.
yeah. That episode really kind of put them on the map. It's a
Yeah,
defining episode. It's
yeah, that's I mean, Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories, where he talks all about these crazy encounters that he and his brother Eddie Murphy had back in the day with Rick James, and also a really funny encounter they had with Prince.
oh yeah. Well,
And Dave Chappelle played both Prince and Rick James, and I'm Rick James, bitch became like kind of a meme of its
yeah, it
day.
became like his catchphrase for some reason.
Hmm. I
And
mean, that was part of why he got tired of Chappelle's show, is because like he would be trying to do stand up, and audiences would just yell "I'm Rick James, bitch" at him.
like, oh, that's the thing. That's the thing you say. That's your
That's a thing I saw on TV. I want you to recreate the sketch I saw on TV.
say your words. Say your words.
Say the catchphrase. Say the thing I recognize.
oh,
Yeah.
well, we
Um,
love you, audiences. Thank you. Please come out to our shows. Non-productive comedy show every first Thursday of every month.
we're just mad nobody's shouting catchphrases at us. We want to feel what that's like.
yeah, we want to know the power.
Um, so yeah, I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of point to this outside of the Chappelle Show cameos. It was enjoyable in that regard, but yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought this was the weakest sketch of the night. Like, I thought it was all
Yeah, I'd agree.
it starts off with them making fun of the usual tropes of House of the Dragons. Incest, betrothing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Betrothing your daughter to some underage kid.
Some prepubescent kid. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the king is always like sick and elderly, and his face and
Yeah, I,
penis is
I
full.
that didn't really speak to me, just because I'm not a Game of Thrones fan. Never watched it. I'm not generally a fan of the fantasy genre. It's just a little too unbelievable for me to get into.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Um,
it's fantasy, man. Of course.
it's fantasy, but like unlike with science fiction or superheroes or something, I just can't really hook into fantasy. It's just so far removed from anything I can identify with. I'm just like, yeah, okay, it's great if you enjoy that, but it's not for me.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then the way it turns into just, hey, it's Chappelle's old characters from the Chappelle show. I was like,
yeah.
all right. Um, I thought it was okay. It wasn't. It was fine, I guess. But yeah,
It just
definitely.
basically seemed to be like, here we are, we're showing these characters,
Yeah. Hey,
and
remember Rick
that was it.
James? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
not the strongest sketch of the night. It was.
So yeah, kind of an sketch. All
Yes.
right, move on to the next
Yes.
barbershop talk.
Boom.
This is Dave and, well, pretty much all of the Black cast members.
Yeah.
They're in a barbershop, and Michael Longfellow is playing another barber, Philip, who awkwardly tries to join in on their conversations.
Right. So it's basically, like I said, barbershop talk. It's all the black people talking about Kanye at the start, we're talking about how he messed up
Hmm.
that his money. Like, yeah, I wasn't cool with Kanye until he said what he said about George Floyd and White Lives Matter, and then of course
Yeah.
then Michael Longfellow pipes in and is like, yeah, and the stuff about Jewish people that wasn't cool too, right? Awkward
And
silence.
whenever Michael Longfellow's character says something, it's just met with stony silence, and we just hear the sound of the razor.
Right.
That's and that was a funny refrain. I thought that worked well. It did take me out of the sketch a little bit when we hear the razor sound stop and we see Chappelle still moving his razor
Yeah, that was a little bit.
behind his customer's head, and it's like, okay, well, we know you're not using a razor.
Yeah, we could have.
Keenan seemed to be timing it pretty well, but I think he was cueing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, then they,
Uh,
of course that's pretty much the most of the sketch where after
mhm.
Kanye, then they talk about Kyrie Irving, about how he messed up with his money, and then I think
Yeah,
Michael Longfellow says, yeah, like and the fact that he refused to take the vaccine, that was weird too. Of course,
right.
stone
He's
silence.
he's just so desperately trying to join in on the conversation, but his opinions are just so out of sync with the rest of the room, and everyone's just like, "Oh, okay, yeah, mm,
Right, and of course, and then talk about like how Stacey Abrams lost and how what's going on with that, and then Michael Longfellow says, yeah, it's because it's the Bible Belt, it's Georgia, like we're not going to progress unless we separate God and politics.
mm-hmm,
Stone silence. Uh,
yeah." And finally, like his watch goes off, and he's like, "Okay, well, it's 6:05. That's the end of my shift. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow I'll get a customer."
like, that was a nice little addition. I did like that.
That was nice, and he's like, I hope we're all good. I hope I didn't step on any toes. And Dave's character is going, oh no no, hey, we're good, we're good, we're good. And then as soon as he leaves, he just goes, he's police, isn't he?
Yep. um, I like this sketch. I thought it was pretty good. Again, short to the point.
Hmm. Yep.
It was doing there was some commentary there, but didn't like beat you over the head with it.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
This sketch, by the way, written by Michael Che, Alex English, and Brian Tucker. So yeah, funny stuff.
yeah, yeah, solid. Michael Longfellow he's getting a good amount of stuff to do on the show. I've noticed. Like,
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Like whenever we have a notable black host, it's always good for all the African American cast members.
hell yeah,
Yep. You
yeah.
know, because they're gonna write more sketches about the black experience usually, and more parts for Keenan and Ego and Michael Longfellow.
That's right.
Yeah,
You need, I mean, and all those
and Punky.
and Punky, and in those sketches, you need a corny white guy. That's where Longfellow and Mikey Day come into play. But we'll get to that later.
Exactly, exactly. They were admirably following the awkward white dudes. I'm honestly Michael Longfellow. He's been featured on the show a fair amount, but I'm still 6 weeks into the season. I still have trouble telling him apart from Marcelo at first glance.
Really? They don't look anything alike.
Well, they're because they're both like medium build dudes with dark hair.
Uh,
Um,
yeah,
and a lot of times on SNL, you're seeing people in wigs or costumes or things, and it's tough to sometimes to instantly like register somebody's face, at least for me.
yeah, I guess. But I mean, Longfellow's so much taller than Marcelo. Marcelo seems
He is taller. I did notice that during the good nights, but if I don't have the other one standing next to him for reference, I can't really tell.
I need the big dog, little dog type of
Yeah,
segment.
yeah. Like I mean, during the potato hole sketch, I wrote down it was Marcelo at first, and then later when I was looking again, I was like, oh no, shit, that's Michael Longfellow. So
That's not Marcelo. That's Longfellow.
exactly,
Okay. All right.
exactly. I'm sure I'll have it down within a few more weeks, just
Yeah.
when I know their faces. But it's like when I was having trouble when Mikey Day and Alex Moffat started on the show at the same time,
Yeah. I
and
I, I hear you.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think both of them, Marcelo and Longfellow, are getting a good amount of screen time. But yeah, I think I know what you
Hmm.
mean. They still haven't had that one defining kind of role that makes them really pop and like separate
Yeah, they
themselves.
haven't had the super breakout moment yet.
Yeah, but I think it's coming. I really feel like
It's
it's coming.
coming, and I think the show is doing a much better job of serving all the new cast members than it used to, and giving them more opportunities to get on the air and kill.
Yeah, no, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right.
And just to clarify, when I say when it gives them more opportunities to kill, I mean the show enables serial killers.
Yes, of
Yeah.
course. That's what we're saying.
Every This is a little known fact about SNL. Every SNL cast has at least one serial killer in the cast.
That's right. And we saw this in the that episode with about the what's it called? The advice given to the new cast members where
Hmm.
Molly had to kill Vladimir Putin.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. That's based in truth. It's based in truth. I mean, part of the fun of watching SNL is trying to guess who is the current serial killer in the cast.
that's right. If you want to be part of SNL, you gotta show your loyalty, and you gotta
Hmm.
you need to sacrifice blood in, blood out.
It's how you're made. It's like the old LA street gangs where you run the gauntlet.
That's right. Lauren Michael has like five teardrop tattoos, but you don't really see them.
They beat you down, and then they are your brothers.
That's right. That's how it works.
Hmm. Hmm.
God. Black Star. Let's get into that.
Black Star. These are our musical guests of the week. They, of course, did the two numbers. What were the names of the numbers? I don't have them handy right now.
The first song they did was called "So Be It,"
Okay.
and the second song was called "The Main Thing Is to Keep the Main Thing the Main Thing."
Wow.
I had to I had to pull that up and make sure I got it right.
Yeah, I saw that title on YouTube. I was like, oh, that's a long title, sir.
It's a long one. It's a long one. Um, okay, well, I guess I'll start off with this one. Like I
Yeah,
said,
I
uh,
mean, because you follow Black Star, they're new to me.
okay.
I mean, you gave me a primer last week, and you were like, oh yeah, it's a Mos Def, but I don't think he goes by that name anymore. And I was like, okay, I know Mos Def,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so it's Mos Def who goes by Yassine Bey right now and
okay,
Talib Kweli. They came out with an album way back in the late 90s. I want to say like either 96 or 90 96, 97, 98, something like that. But either way,
okay,
their debut album came out. It was a huge hit in like sort of the underground hip hop scene. It's a really good album. It's like I said, it's like a strong album. I had it on heavy rotation back in the day. And ever since then, people have been wanting them to come back and make another album, and they haven't
hmm,
done it for whatever reason. The maybe the mood wasn't right or the something or whatever. And then they
right,
came back with this album this year, finally, after like a 20+ year hiatus. But
wow,
since it's been a while.
that's something else.
Yeah, late 90s were 20 years ago. Don't think about it.
They were over 20 years. They were like
Oh,
25 years ago, my
I
friend.
said don't think about it.
I'm sorry, I had to do the math.
God. But I mean, but since while all that was happening, Black Star and Dave Chappelle have been really good friends. Like
Uh huh.
they both appeared on the Chappelle Show. I'm pretty sure they were both in his movie Dave Chappelle's Block Party back in the day.
Okay.
And like the three of them have been really good friends and really tight. So
So
when
that okay. So they basically Black Star was on the show because Chappelle was hosting. It's not just they were matching them up. It was Chappelle was like, "Hey, I'll come on if Black Star is on."
Yeah, like I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure it is. It's the same reason Tribe Called Quest was the musical guest when Chappelle hosted because Chappelle had
Right.
enough juice to be like, I want so and so to be my musical guest, and which
Yeah.
is great because again, I'm a huge fan of Tribe Called Quest. I've loved them for years. Black Star, I'm a huge fan of them. I've loved them for years, and yeah, they're two bands that I don't think like the mainstream really knows about them, but they are very well respected in the hip hop community, and they've come out with some
Mhm.
amazing albums. So
Yeah.
when I heard that they were coming out on this show, I was like, oh wow, I'm looking forward to this.
So
And
were both of these new songs then?
yes, they're both new songs off the new album. The first one, "So Be It," I'd never heard of. I'd never heard because the new album you can't get unless you sign up with Luminary, which
Oh yes, yeah. You talked about that last week. It's exclusive to
yeah,
Luminary. Okay.
I just don't that sort of exclusive shit. I just don't jive with. Look. I want the
Yeah.
album. I will give you money for the album, and you give me the album. That's as simple as it should be. I don't want to have to sign
Yeah.
up for some subscription that I'm only going to listen to just for the album.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Like I mean, we watch a lot of different material during the off weeks, and so I've had to sign up for like a few streaming services that I probably wouldn't have signed up for otherwise. I signed up for like Apple TV so we could first check out Ted Lasso.
Right, right.
And it's a lot because there are so many different streaming services now, and
It is.
it's very complex and it gets very expensive. I mean,
Oh, it
I'm
is.
I kind of rotate them now. Like
Hmm.
I'll be like a member of this service for a few months and then let it lapse and then sign up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Uh,
it's a lot. So yeah, and doing that with music too. Yeah.
yeah. So,
But I liked So Be It a lot more than the second number. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. That didn't really work for me, but I enjoyed So Be It.
yeah, I'll agree with you. Like, so be it is a banger. I love the beat. The beat is made by this producer Madlib, who's comes
Hmm.
out of who's out of L.A. He's made some amazing albums. If you ever listened to the Mad Villainy album he made with MF Doom, which is one of the best hip hop albums of the early aughts, it's fantastic. I love his beats. He was actually there at the show. He was like, he was behind the DJ booth. And
Oh, cool.
yeah, yeah, like I love Madlib and I love Black Star, and I'll agree with you. I like the first performance. I thought was great. I liked how it had the lyrics go on the screen behind them, just so you could really see what they were saying, and that their lyricism is still there, it's still sharp.
Hmm.
I really want to like buy that song, but I can't get it unless I go with Luminary, which again I ain't doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the
Yeah.
second song, the main thing, it's definitely like it's definitely a lot more slower. It's more of a head nodder, and
Yeah.
it does get a little meandery in some points. But because I love Black Star so much, I was able to sort of excuse it. But yeah, I will admit it's definitely like it doesn't get you as amped as So Be It
Yeah,
does.
didn't get you as pumped up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get that. But it was they played their second number like right before the last sketch of the show. So yeah, you can do the more downbeat. I don't want to say ballady thing, but yeah, the more low
yeah.
key
The
thing.
the cool down.
The cool down. The cool down.
Exactly.
That's right. That's
But
right.
yeah,
So
but
this
overall, I enjoy both their performances. I
yeah,
think.
this has been our recurring segment. Darren explains black culture to John while John nods politely.
Will it be the first time? Will this be the last time we do it on this episode? Let's find out.
Let's find out. Suspense. All right. Anything
Yeah.
else to say about Black Star?
No, I think they're dope. They're still dope.
Okay.
If anybody can
All
hook
right.
me up with that album without me having to sign up for Luminary, holler at your boy.
Black Star, still dope. Darren's looking for bootlegs, people.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
All right. Next, weekend update with Mr. Colin Jost and Mr. Michael Che.
Michael Che, Michael Che,
Michael Che.
Michael Che.
So, big news week. So, a lot for them to talk about. Democrats retaining control of the Senate.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Jost had a good line early on. He said Biden is like the Jurassic World movies, extremely successful despite a 42% rating.
Woo. It's not bad. Yeah, they've been taking a lot of shots at Biden, which
Hmm.
is interesting. Like I've noticed that it's becoming more. If you go back in the other years, it's more like they take shots at the Republicans and not so much. They pull back a little on the Democrats, but it seems like now they're kind of giving them both uh, some guff,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting.
Um, I thought it was a decent observation on Biden because he has done a lot of things that have been successful, and I think he's generally doing well as president. But he doesn't really seem to be getting people hyped up the way, like, say, Obama did.
Yeah, no, I get it because like he's an older fellow and
Yeah.
he's sort of seen as maybe I don't want to say a fossil, but he
Well, he's more reassuring grandpa than
yeah,
exciting,
exciting new future.
charismatic black dude. So
Yeah, I hear you. I think at one point, Che said that Biden was going to make a decision whether to run next year or not, but his doctors have told him don't plan too far ahead,
yeah,
something like that.
another
Which,
good line. Another
woo,
good line. Uh, Che talked about the election. He said a record 12 states will have female governors, while the other 38 states will have dinner ready on time.
uh,
And Che has really been leaning into the sexist jokes lately, or the sexist persona,
he really
and
has.
they he does them with such conviction that they always fall into that "God help me, I laughed" category. And it's
Yeah,
kind of like what I was talking about before, where you don't agree with the premise behind the joke, and I don't even think that Che agrees with the premise behind the joke, but he just finds this amusing, so he leans into it.
yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like this is. I don't agree with this, but it is funny, so I
It's a
will say
funny
it.
joke. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, and it's just so audacious and so out there and so obviously wrong. That's part of what makes it funny.
yeah. But then he
Um,
will say jokes that you can tell he sort of is more in line with. Like I like that joke he said about how this white student at the University of Kentucky was arrested for assaulting black students, and
yeah.
they were put under arrest for impersonating a police officer.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, that's a great joke.
solid
That's a
joke.
great that's a great joke, and that has like a real world point to make. And yeah, I'm sure that's closer to his real life POVs
Mm.
than that. And another strong joke I thought was when Colin Jost said that a 25-year-old is the first Gen Z member of Congress, and he says younger, said Matt Gates.
Yeah, remember when that was the thing where Matt Gates was like macking on young girls? That kind of seemed to go away.
Like literal high school students, like below the age of consent. Uh,
Yikes.
Not that if they're above the age of consent, that makes the age gap less creepy, but
Yeah, please make that clear.
yeah, no, I want to make that clear. It's more legal, but still just as creepy. Uh,
Yeah, it's
and
egads.
I don't know how any of those charges haven't really stuck or really brought him down, or why that hasn't affected his support in a big way. It's weird. It's a head scratcher.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
He seems to be a literal pedophile, and that's not a deal breaker. Okay, all right.
Welcome to the GOP.
Ah,
Uh
more like the gross old party, am I right?
Heyo, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. John.
Boom!
Give it up for John Trumbull, ladies and
You
gentlemen.
just
John
been
Trumbull.
trumbled.
Yeah. You've been trumbled.
Yeah. Um,
So let's talk about our desk correspondence we got.
Desk piece, Marcelo Hernandez, who I got to recognize this time. He comes on as Jose Suarez, who I'm has got to be a character from a stand-up act.
I'd imagine so, or maybe
Yeah.
either from a stand-up act or an old Carlos Mencia sketch.
This seems so well practiced, so well polished. I feel like it's something he's been doing on stage for years.
I
So
could see that
yeah.
for sure. And yeah, he just plays this guy Jose Suarez who just feels like he could run for president in
Mm-hmm.
the future. And then he talks about his talking points about like how everybody's complaining about everything, but it's actually not that bad. Everything's fine. Like people talking about, oh, the price of milk is too high. It's like, well,
Yeah.
what? Just don't drink milk. What's the problem?
Yeah. Everything is basically fine. That was kind of his premise. I wasn't too nuts about this.
Yeah, it. I mean, I think it's one of those things where the jokes aren't super strong,
Yeah.
but like Marcelo's energy, because he plays it so big and so energetic that
He's a charismatic, likable guy. He was very committed to the character. Yeah, I thought the material was kind of weak. I mean, the thing about like Roe v. Wade being a debate about how to cross a body of water, that's an old joke, and
that
it's
that is an old
kind
street
of
joke.
hack.
As soon
Yeah,
as he said that, I was like, really? Roe v. Wade?
yeah.
That's like an old street joke. That's some old shit.
Like somebody should have cut that.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm seeing on the Reddit thread about who wrote what that Marcelo is the only credited writer for this, and somebody on Twitter, it might have been Manette Moratti, don't have it in front of me right now, um, said I really think he should have developed this with a writing partner on the show, and I
Yeah,
agree with that.
yeah. Like it's one of those things where he has the charisma and energy to really
Hmm.
sell a person, sell a sketch
Right?
or to sell, whatever he's selling. But I think he just needs the material to be stronger because a lot of this stuff kind of came across as like old George Lopez jokes or old Carlos
Yeah,
Mencia jokes to me, and
yeah,
it's just like you need the material, man. You're almost there. You need the material.
yeah. You got two of the ingredients, but if the jokes ain't there, man,
Yeah,
yeah. So this I like that the new cast member got the exposure. I don't think this was his thing where you're like, oh wow, who is this new person?
yeah. But again, he does sell it. I do like little facial things he does. Like at one point where he's talking about the milk and he talks to Colin, like, yeah, who drinks milk anymore? And then Colin says, well, I do sometimes like a nice warm glass of milk before bed. And then
hmm
Marcelo shoots him like this kind of look of disgust
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
actually pretty funny. Like his
Well, it's
reaction.
such a white boy
Yeah, you know,
response. Yeah,
nice.
and Colin plays to that.
Yeah, oh, nice warm milk.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like yeah, but I agree with you. I thought this was okay. It's just he's almost there. He has the energy. He has the charisma. It's just he
yeah.
needs the material. I think once he gets
Fingers crossed, we're pulling for you, Marcelo.
yeah,
Okay.
like once he gets the material, then it's off to the races.
Exactly, exactly. So next, we had another desk segment. This is one that was cut from last week's show. This is Sarah Sherman debuts Sarah News.
Mm.
Um, and I think I said just last week that I missed Sarah coming on and busting Collins' chops. I've missed that. We haven't had that since the end of last season. So she comes on with her personal gripe with Colin. Not enough jokes about her. So she introduces Sarah News and brings on her own little miniature Sarah News set.
Yeah, and then even her own Sarah News opening, complete with like falling eyeballs and like a heart
Yep.
with teeth. I think my
Yep.
wife saw that. She was like, "Oh, that's gross." It kind of weirded her out.
Let me ask you something. Like, do you and your wife sit down together to watch SNL, or are you just watching SNL on your own and your wife is puttering around doing other things,
Um,
or is it a mix?
it's a mix. Like sometimes
Okay.
she'll watch along with me, but sometimes she'll be like, "Yeah, I'm tired. I'm going to bed,"
Hmm.
and
Okay.
I'm just there with my notepad, just burning the midnight oil.
Follow up question:
Go.
are you ever going to introduce me to your wife?
Uh, hmm. I'd rather.
Too soon?
We're not there yet. We're not. But
Okay.
we're getting
Okay.
there. We're getting
No,
there.
I get it. I get it. We've only been doing the podcast for 4 years.
Year 5. That's the year, my friend.
Okay. All right. All right.
Mark it on your calendar.
Just, just curious.
Okay. No.
Just, just curious.
Yeah. No. It's fine. Just don't. As long as you never see my wife or know where I live, we're good.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Let's. Yeah.
Will you tell me her name off air?
Ah. Ooh. I'd love to, but I don't. Look. Come back to me. Come back to me later with that.
Okay. All right. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
We'll circle
Circle
back
back.
to that.
Circle back. Circle back.
So yeah, Sarah, she has some lines. She mentions about her boyfriend in passing. She says, "Yes, I have a boyfriend. I'm as straight as Michael Che's update persona."
That was a good line.
It's a great line. It's a great line. Nice reaction shot from Michael. Uh,
Uh,
and I wrote down turkey waddle between my legs,
yes.
something to be thankful for. I didn't write down what she was attracted to
Uh,
somebody in the news, and I forget who that was.
John Fetterman, the man that beat out Dr.
That was it.
Oz in the
Yes,
Pennsylvania election.
yes,
But yeah,
yes.
uh,
Who, thank God, beat out Doctor Oz.
oh, thank God. It's sad that it's a sad state of affairs where somebody like Dr. Oz actually had a chance of,
I
uh,
know. Yeah, yeah.
but here we are.
Here we are. Here we are.
But yeah, her referring to it as a turkey waddle was wow.
That's that puts a picture in your head.
Whoo boy. Whew.
And then she also said, and I recently had an allergic reaction that made my face puff up. And then they cut to a picture of her with her face popped up, and she says, and now I have something to show HR when they ask me where Colin hit me.
Yeah. I think at one point she tells Colin, "Bro, I'm going to tell you one more time. Stop touching my leg under the table."
Right, right. Um, these are always fun. I feel like they've been doing them just enough that it's not getting old. And she's such a unique voice
Yeah.
on the
Like
show. I mean, her comic sensibility is different from everyone else's on the show.
yeah, I think I said it before. Like she's doing something no one else can really do on the show. Like
Right.
she's coming out
She's
of
filling a slot that nobody else in the cast checks off that box.
exactly. Like she's coming in dressed up like Harlequin and she just
Yeah.
has this really bizarre view of the world and like
Yeah.
it's very
And
refreshing.
again, she sells that material with such conviction. She goes all in, and I love that.
Yeah, and she does it with such like glee. There's so much like
Yeah,
genuine joy
she just
when
loves twisting the knife. This was written by Sarah Sherman, of course, Dan Beulah, and the Please Don't Destroy Boys, Martin Harley, John Higgins, and Ben Marshall.
Uh,
Um, I I would say the one thing that doesn't weird me out, but it takes me out of the sketch a little bit, is when she just identifies herself as Sarah on the show. And I think it's very obvious she doesn't want to be called Sarah Sherman, but she just kind of agreed to that because Lorna, the network, insisted.
mm. Oh,
But I think it's so weird. She just says, I'm Sarah.
oh, I see what you
And
mean. Because like her,
yeah, I feel like we gotta decide this one way or the other. Either call yourself Sarah Sherman on the show, or Lauren or NBC or whoever give her permission to call herself Sarah Squirm, because I think just calling her Sarah is super odd at this point.
yeah, I see what you mean.
You know?
It's like how Paul Rubens and Pee Wee Herman are two different people,
Well, I mean,
kind of.
I mean, Pee Wee Herman, that was like an established character. He obviously wasn't the real guy. I mean, Sarah Sherman is Sarah Squirm. The only real difference is the name, I think.
I, I guess so. I mean, I guess she wants. I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. I sort of understand. Like, I guess she wants to keep the two personalities separate, but on the show, the two personalities are pretty much are the same.
Well,
Like, there's no real
see,
difference.
I feel like it probably went down something like this. I mean, she made a name for herself on YouTube and in her stand up as Sarah Squirm,
Right.
and then she gets on SNL, and I think she was probably like, "I would like to be called Sarah Squirm, please." And then Lauren or NBC or whoever was like, "No, you have to be on your real name or not at all."
Right. Because that.
And
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, okay, well, I don't really like that, but okay." And so I feel like her just coming on Weekend Update and saying I'm Sarah is just this weird sort of compromise that just it doesn't work for me.
Yeah. I see what you're saying, but it doesn't take me out of it too much.
It doesn't bug you.
Not. I see what you're saying, but yeah, like it's something I don't really
Okay.
think about just because I'm just real. I'm still reeling from her, referring to in between her legs as a turkey waddle. So I'm not
Well,
thinking.
no, I get that. I get that.
I'm not busy thinking about the Sarah thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't particularly care which they pick. I just wish they'd pick one or the other. You know?
Yeah, fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah. So, but I solid Weekend Update overall. I thought.
Yeah, solid. Not bad at all, my friend. Not bad.
Oh, good jokes. A strong desk piece with Sarah.
Hmm.
Not quite as strong desk piece with Marcelo, but hey, he's working on it.
He's working on it. Marcelo, just get with the writer. That's what.
Get with a writer, Marcelo.
That's right. That's
They they want to be your friends.
Yeah. They're good people. They're probably
Yeah,
awkward and whatnot, and don't
yeah,
don't know how to interact socially, but they're good. Just
yeah, yep. They don't get much sunlight,
yeah.
but yeah,
We say this as writers. So
yeah. So
next up, Heaven, the Heaven sketch.
they call this just Heaven Scene on on YouTube. I thought it was going to be called Black Heaven or Pearly Gates. But yeah, they just
Yeah,
call it Heaven Scene.
it should be
Maybe
called
they
Black
didn't want to
Heaven.
give away the gag in the title.
Yeah, I
But
guess so.
yeah, again, it starts out with Dave Chappelle introducing the sketch like he's on Chappelle's show still, and he just says, "Hey, I'm getting a little older and I need my rest, so I'm not going to be in this sketch. But my boy, he stepped up and he stepped in for me. So hey, let's go." And then we just cut to the pearly gates, and we see Michael Longfellow arriving in heaven,
Yep.
and we think, oh, Michael Longfellow's playing the Dave Chappelle part. And no, not so much.
Yeah. So we see Devin Walker coming into Heaven, greeted by
Yeah.
Ego and Keenan, and he's like, "Oh, you're
Oh, I
in."
said Michael Longfellow. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, yeah. That would be weird if it was him.
That's no. Yeah,
Actually, no, it
I
wouldn't
thought I
be.
was saying the right name, and that was a brain fart. Excuse
Oh
me.
boy. But yeah,
I can tell the difference between those two cast
are
members.
you sure? They're,
Bad with names.
they both have medium build, dark hair.
Yeah. Look, Gregory, if there's one thing you know about me, it's that I'm bad with names.
Thank you. All right, I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, Jamal. So
Okay.
so then we see that he's in Black Heaven as introduced by Mikey Day, who comes out looking like straight up like Cat Williams.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. He's got a Cat Williams type wig on, and yeah, and he's awkwardly reading these lines with lots of black slang, and he at one point just says, "Oh, I should not be doing this sketch."
Right. And so basically, as we realize, the sketch is Mikey Day, white guy saying all these black things and black slang,
Right.
whilst Dave Chappelle looks off stage laughing his ass off.
Yeah, they literally cut back to Dave Chappelle sitting in, like by the cameras, and he's just loving it.
Right, as as Mikey says, "Oh yeah, all the shorties up here got TSA booties," and it's that made me smile. And
Yeah.
him saying, "Yeah, it's all black people up here in Black Heaven," even though some white chicken head hoes cluck they way in, looking for some chocolate sauce. Wow.
So glad you're reading the dialogue from this sketch,
Yeah,
and that
I'll.
I do not have to.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's basically the sketch. It's just and even Mikey kind of breaks character sometimes, telling
Yeah.
Keaton like, I don't want to be doing this. I can't say that."
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just making a meal out of Mikey's awkwardness, and really funny. Um, and then there was a moment towards the end of the sketch where uh, he said "world star,"
Right.
and we see Dave Chappelle and Donnell Rawlings just losing it. They are just losing their shit. And I was like, okay, World Star is obviously something. I'm not familiar with the slang, so I went to Urban Dictionary, and
Oh
it
boy.
defines World Star as the first word people scream when some ratchet shit is about to go down. So
See, when he said World Star, like part of me in my mind was like, I know what World Star is, and I think there's a good chance John doesn't know what that is.
yeah, you were correct. You were
Yeah.
like, John will never get that,
So I
but I could tell from the reaction it was something.
yeah.
So
So basically,
I was like, I need to educate. I wrote down the word world star
right. So
just
yeah.
as a note to myself to check out and figure out what that means later, because I was like, okay, this is obviously something I need to know to get the full context.
Right. So basically, there's this website called I think World Star Hip Hop, and like it's
Hmm.
basically become very popular, in the urban world for a place where people kind of upload videos of ratchet shit, as you say, like
Uh huh.
a fight at a Chuck E. Cheese or a fist fight in
Okay,
a
gotcha.
Walmart parking lot. Because like people do,
Sure.
like when something's about to go down, I had people do like sort of pull out their phones and like videotape it and be like, "Oh,
Oh,
World Star."
okay. So they're like, oh, I'm gonna upload this to World Star.
Yeah. So
Okay, gotcha.
it's a thing where people like pull out their phone and go, "Oh, World Star," when they see something ratchet
Okay.
is about to go down.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yeah, I like the sketch quite a bit. Like I liked Mikey's awkwardness. I like how Keenan at one point says to Mikey, "Hey, dude, you were on the first season of Wild 'N Out. You can't go get through this." I like them.
Yeah.
I like them mentioning that Mikey Day was in Wild 'N Out.
Yeah. That was a great line. Yeah, he didn't know that Henny was Hennessy. He was assuming that was Ego's character name.
Right.
Yeah, that was funny. And then Chappelle comes back at the end, and he's like, and next we're gonna do a sketch about the horrors and atrocities of the Underground Railroad.
And of course, Mike is like, "I cannot do that. I cannot. No, please."
Yeah, yeah, very funny stuff.
Yeah.
I thought this was probably the best blending of the sensibilities of SNL and Chappelle's show.
I would agree. I like how they switch up the format too, like where
Hmm.
it's the cast members break character, and then they
Yeah,
cut in the middle of the sketch. They cut to Chappelle sitting off camera. Then like you said, him and Donnell Rawlings are having a laugh, and at one point, him and Most Def are all laughing at Mikey, and then it just becomes this whole thing of just trying to embarrass Mikey Day. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I thought this was a great sketch. This might be sketch of the night for me.
Good stuff. I think it's my sketch of the night too. Yeah, I'm looking at the other candidates right now. I like the turn on potato hole a lot, but I like this scene all the way through. So
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? This is sketch of the night. I'm making a choice right now. Sketch of the night. Boom.
hmm. I've scrolled down a little bit on Urban Dictionary, and yeah, they do say that it came from World Star Hip Hop. And then it says, it explains in parentheses, a popular website that showcases upcoming rappers, latest cultural slash world news, butt naked women, many fights, etc. And then they give an example. This is the example that they give. Girl one, fuck you, bitch. Girl two, throws punch. Guy one, oh shit, world star. Girl one, titty flops out. Girl two's boyfriend KOs the boyfriend of the girl one with a nasty left hook. So that's World Star, folks.
Yeah, pretty much. That's beat word for word. That is
That,
World Star.
that's
So
wow. I've been missing out. I gotta go to worldstarhiphop.com, man.
yeah, so if you want to see some people get into a fight at a Popeyes, you got World Star to look forward to.
I mean, and who doesn't want to see that
Yeah,
from the comfort of their own
yeah,
their own home? So yeah.
yeah. Oh boy. But yeah. All right. So final sketch of the night. We're here.
Final sketch. Please don't destroy election night.
Yeah, we got a PDD sketch wrapping up this
Please
evening.
don't destroy. Another thing I said last week, I was like, I'm missing the Please Don't Destroy boys. So really nice to see them pop up again and come in again. Of course, written by Martin Harley, John Higgins, Ben Marshall. Oh, I didn't give writer credits for the last sketch. The Heaven Scene was Alex English, Gary Richardson, and Streeter Seidel. So
Mm.
well done, fellas. And yeah, this sketch, Please Don't Destroy Boys, sitting in their writer's room. Molly Carney comes in, says, "Do you guys know anything about politics?" And we discovered that Molly Carney has now been somehow elected Ohio Attorney General.
Yeah, apparently she put out a tweet saying,
They,
"Damn it! I'm never gonna get.
yeah.
I'm gonna try, guys."
No, hey, Darren, we're going to police each other on this. We're going to get it
Okay.
down, man. We're going to get it down. We're going to get it to the point we're not
Yes.
even thinking
We're,
about it.
we're gonna do it, man. You and me. Just you and me.
Molly's a they. Molly's a they and
Molly today.
them. And
Molly
they
today.
say that at the end of the sketch.
Yes.
So we're getting reminders.
Yeah. So Molly got nominated Attorney General through posting a tweet saying, "I low key feel like I'd make a good Ohio AG, LMAO, hashtag in my
Mm-hmm.
feelings." That tweet went viral. People wrote her in. Boom.
Do we know if this was a real tweet or no?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I
I was
don't
just
believe so.
wondering. I didn't check on it, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And so according to MSNBC, Steve Kornacki, who makes an appearance,
They
says,
had the real Steve Kornacki, which I loved because, like, when elections come around, yeah, I tune to MSNBC, and Steve Kornacki is the guy who operates the big electronic map they have, and he is so impressive. He's just always like, oh well, if they take this state, then the we'll have this many seats in the House, and then the blah, 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 and it's so impressive. And he just does this off the cuff, and I can't imagine like all the research and the people speaking in his ear when he does that. So it was a kick to see him.
yeah, yeah, it was good. And yeah, so Molly is now the new AG of
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, and Molly is panicking. And the PDD boys say, "Hey, we'll help you out. We'll be your chief of staff." And then we just get this very, like, the rapidest of rapid fire jokes throughout this entire sketch.
Everyone is panicking and they're just like, how do we do this? And like Molly has to make an acceptance speech in like 5 minutes, and if she doesn't
Oh,
nail this acceptance speech, then catastrophic consequences will occur. um,
yeah, yeah. So uh it's pretty, like, the jokes here are like super rapid fire.
Super rapid fire. I loved the recurring thing where where the news stories reporting on Molly being elected to Ohio Attorney General kept saying that they were a background extra or a stagehand on SNL, and then Molly's going, "I'm in the cast."
Right. And yeah, and of course everybody panics, and they get immediately get they put Molly in a more MSNBC friendly clothing. They get
Hmm.
her
They get Molly a
they
family,
get Molly a
yeah,
family, and of course it's
yeah,
Sarah,
with Sarah Sherman as like this blonde Republican style wife,
right, with two kids.
yeah,
And immediately Ben says to one of the kids, "Don't you fuck this up for me, kid."
yeah. People swearing at children is always kind of
It's
hilarious to me.
it's pretty fantastic.
It's a good go-to. It's a good, yeah.
And yeah, I mean I mean the sketch is just pure madness for
It really is. The only point against it for me is I thought the ending was kind of weak. We had Molly just getting ready to do their speech, and then it just cuts to scrolling text saying that Molly was forced to resign and go back to being an SNL cast member. And I wanted like a really strong gag at the end, and it didn't really bring that home for me.
yeah,
So
I could see that.
yeah,
It's because the whole sketch is just so much madness in there. I think at one point, as they're screaming at each other, one of the kids who's in the family they have for Molly says like, "Hey, can are AGs even allowed to put in? Are AGs even involved in policy making?" And of course, Ben screams, Get this kid out of here!" And then like a security
Yeah.
guard picks up the kid.
Yeah, they like fire one of the kids. I loved that they had James Austin Johnson playing a newscaster, and he like goes off screen on the newscast, and then like the next second we see him open the door. This is all one shot, and then he opens the door of the office.
Yeah,
That was
holding a
hilarious.
news camera and be like, "Hey, it's all right, ready for your speech."
Holding a news camera, ready to interview Molly. That was hilarious because again, the Please Don't Destroy sketches are just so rapid fire, and I mean this again was just like 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
Uh, should have been earlier in the show, I think, but I kind of get why it wasn't.
I agree. Yeah,
You want to put your host in it as much as possible, and the host was not involved with this.
hmm
But it's a great bit of weirdness to end the night.
Yeah, they packed a lot of jokes in there, and Molly was
Hmm.
fantastic. I mean, I know a lot of people
Yeah,
compare Molly to, Chris Farley and Melissa McCarthy, and you
I can see that. I can see that. But yeah, I think Molly's their own thing. Yeah,
Molly is Molly. Yes.
yeah, yeah. But I love seeing the comedic sensibilities of Please Don't Destroy. I love it when they meld their sensibilities with other people in the cast.
Absolutely.
So I like seeing them. I like seeing the various mixes that we get, and they really seem to have bonded with Sarah. We see, they wrote Sarah's segment with her, and Sarah pops up in a fair amount of their shorts. So that's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really like this sketch. I thought it was pretty solid way to end the show. And
Hmm.
yeah,
It might be my sketch of the night if it had a stronger ending, but because I thought the ending was a little, I'm going with Heaven Scene.
I think I'd agree with you. Yeah, like yeah, the more I think about the ending of that sketch, I was like, they should have had something a little bit
Yeah,
bigger. But
yeah, it just petered out a little bit.
yeah,
Also, it was kind of weird the in the closing scroll. They're talking about Molly. They use they them pronouns, and then on the live show, they immediately cut to a shot of Chappelle, and I was like, "Oof!"
oh, did they? I didn't even.
They did.
Oh,
They did.
oh,
I think you can even see this on the Peacock because I was rewatching on Peacock this morning, and it was a different shot of Chappelle, but I was like, they them pronouns just immediately followed by a shot of Dave Chappelle. That's not a great look.
oh,
That's not a great look, guys.
egad! I wonder if that was intentional.
Not a great look, people.
Oh, egad! I did not
Yeah,
even notice that.
I was like, heavens. Oh,
Oh, oh my!
I fanned myself.
Goo! And I faint on my couch.
So,
But yeah, and that's
so yeah, that was a show. And we had good nights. No Bowen on stage.
yeah,
Chappelle gave a rest in peace or rest in power to Takeoff.
yeah, and we're out. Solid
Yeah,
show again. Like
solid show. Did you notice Chappelle said like I'll see you next week?
he did. I think he was just a joke. He was just joking. He was just fucking
Yeah,
around.
I was just like, oh, okay.
I mean,
I don't think the show's on next week, but all right.
it'd be hilarious if he got there and like no one else was there. It's like, hey, what the fuck?
Maybe he's just gonna show up at 30 Rock and just be pontificating to no one, to an empty studio.
I could see him doing that.
He could do that. Who knows? Maybe, yeah, maybe he got an open-ended ticket
Yeah. But yeah,
before he flies back to Ohio. I don't
yeah.
know.
Who knows? But yeah. I mean, overall, yeah, solid show. I think it's the
Yeah,
strongest show of the season so far.
I agree.
A lot of it, a lot of the stuff, a lot of the sketches hit more than it missed for me.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of the sketches were shorter, so they didn't, drag and drone on like they sometimes
Yep.
have a tendency to
Yeah, I
do.
don't like it when the sketches they hammer like one premise into the ground. And we had some great turns this week. I mean the turn in Potato Hole was great. The turn in Heaven Scene was great because they led you to think that one person was going to play Chappelle's character, but no, it's Mikey Day.
Yeah, and the barbershop had that nice little turn, and some nice little
Yeah,
commentary there.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I think yeah, it's when somebody comes in from another sketch show. Like we saw this happen with Keegan Michael Key when he hosted a little while back.
Right.
Like the show really kind of bends to their sensibility a little bit, and they bring their sketch experience, and I think you get a stronger show out of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, again, like this is a show where I was kind of dreading and ended up
Mm-hmm.
liking quite a bit. I mean, again, like I said, I don't agree with everything that Chappelle said with the about the trans people, but I
Right.
got to admit this was a strong show. This was probably the best. This was the best of the season.
Yeah, I think the it is dethroned the Brendan Gleeson episode
I'd agree.
in my mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what do you
So
guys think? What do you guys out there in the Twitter world
what do you
think?
think? What do you think?
What do you think, Twitter
Let's
people?
see. What thoughts, comments, Mr. DeSantis? Will you be my new daddy?
That was again, that was a
That
hilarious.
was a thing you wrote.
That is a thing I wrote. Oh yeah, I did write
Yeah,
that. Okay, well here we go. We got our good friend Mikey over in the UK.
Mikey
Uh,
and jolly old England.
hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, who, by the way, I asked him to critique your British accent,
Mhm.
and he said you should be the new James Bond.
That's right. I'm Bond, James Bond. Yeah, yeah. You're having a laugh, ain't you? I'll take my martinis shaken, not stirred. Stirred, yeah. Huh? Huh? MGM, I await you. I see what you did.
Just starting up my razor.
Nice.
Um,
MGM, I await your call.
yes. All
Uh,
right. So, Mikey's, you want me to read it or should you?
oh, you can read it. Go for it.
All right. He says, "Hey guys, pretty sure this episode will split opinion, but overall I thought it was decent. Cold Open was forgettable, and the monologue, as expected, was a solid 15 minutes from Chappelle's stand up, with a couple of jokes that straight up bombed with the live audience.
Mm.
This whole episode felt more like something from an early George Carlin show in season 1 or 2, where we keep cutting back to the host on stage. Yeah, it kind of was like the Carlin thing, but I think it was really more directly emulating uh, the format where of Chappelle's show, where Chappelle would introduce his own sketches. I don't know. They had to have gotten Chappelle's show in England, right?
They must have. It's
It was so popular here. I can't imagine it not being exported to other
no.
countries. But maybe Mikey's not familiar with Chappelle's show. He says nothing outstanding sketch wise, but all had a few good laughs. Didn't love the Please Don't Destroy sketch though, which was a shame.
Mhm.
Highlight for me was Weekend Update. Good, not great.
Okay, fair enough. Then we got our good friend, Mr. Lee Hot the Lion. I
Mm-hmm.
refuse to say his name correctly.
Well, we can just go by his screen name. Boardman gets paid.
Yeah,
That's a little
I
easier.
guess we could. He
Mm-hmm.
says between Atlanta ending, Wakanda Forever releasing, Black Star performing, and Dave Chappelle hosting, this was a weekend. Black Heaven seemed
Mm-hmm.
to be a spiritual successor to Jerry's Palace. Every barbershop has a Philip. I think Sarah
He says Jerry's Place is what
Jerry's
I have.
Place with Palace. Good lord.
Yeah,
I'm not sure Jerry's Place is. I gotta look that up.
I think that's a Chappelle show sketch.
I don't remember that. Is it?
I'd have to look it up though because it's
Hmm,
been so long since I rewatched Chappelle's show.
it's been a minute. Uh,
Yeah, let me Google Jerry's Place.
okay. Every barbershop has a Philip. I think Sarah might take over a weekend update and make it absolutely weird. LOL. Even though I watched it live, I skipped the House of the Dragon sketch because I have not seen it yet. All in all, I liked it. P.S. That's what a potato hole. That's what a potato hole bitch line of the night. P.S.S. Claiming COVID at work is a lot harder than I thought. Oh.
Okay, looked up Jerry's Place and it's Jheri. And it's actually an SNL sketch from 2017 that we apparently have both forgotten about.
Wow.
The thumbnail, I'm not going to watch the sketch because, well, I need sound. Um, but the thumbnail has Leslie Jones and Kyle Mooney and then Beck Bennett, like kind of reporting from the sidelines.
Hmm.
So I'm going to assume it's somebody saying something inadvertently racist.
Good assumption.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'll watch that again because I don't remember this at all, even from the thumbnail, man.
Yeah, me neither. Not at all.
And this is before we started doing the podcast, so
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this might have been in the back in the days when we were just still commenting live, blogging the show basically on my Facebook page.
The good old days.
The good old days when we just gave our perceptions literally off the cuff and we didn't have to like rewatch
Mm.
anything or make actual notes or yeah.
Those were the days.
We made so much more homework for ourselves, Darren.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Okay, so let's see. You did Boardman Gets Paid. I'll take Manette. So our friend Manette Marati at Manette M97 says, "There's something that felt off about the monologue for me personally regarding Jews in Hollywood. It felt like a rehash of the 'I have a friend so I can say these jokes' and still relied on some coded stuff. Also, that part of the monologue ignores history that I've learned." She continues. Well, she has a screen cap that says, um, yeah, it's a screen cap from somebody else who said, "I know the Jewish people have been through horrible things all over the world, but you can't blame that on black Americans. I'm sorry, what does this mean?" Yeah, I didn't get where that came from either.
Yeah,
Um,
that wasn't a great line.
yeah, and I mentioned that earlier because it was just weird. I was like, is that a thing? I don't know if that's a thing. Maybe that's just something in Dave Chappelle's experience. I don't know.
Mm.
But Manette continues, but hey, two Jews, three opinions. Maybe others felt differently.
Yeah, I was a little. I mean, I think I mentioned it before, where like, yeah, like the stuff you said about the Jewish people, like it came very close to the line for me, but I'm not a Jewish person, so I'm sure like a lot of people who are Jewish felt like he crossed the line. A lot of it came very close to being coded, and I don't know. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, in this climate, it's weird. You can't really say much just because like we said, anti-Semitism is kind of on the rise, and if you say
Yeah.
something about the Jewish culture, there are the people who will take it and twist it in their own in their own weird minds and make it
Uh huh.
like it'll fuel them to think the negative thoughts they think about Jewish people. So like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
little
And also, like,
dicey.
I mean, like racist trying to be subtle, like, people given that the okay sign, what we know is the okay sign, but it's actually like a white power salute. And it's just like, holy shit,
Yeah, it's
man.
weird. Like you have to. It's very strange because like you kind of hope that people when you say a joke, people understand the nuance behind it or they understand what your true
Right.
intentions are behind it. But I don't know, in this climate, you really can't take that
But
chance anymore
not always. No.
because
Yeah.
people will just kind of take what you say and use it to fuel their own twisted agenda, which is fucked up.
Yep. Yep.
Uh,
You have to be very careful because I mean, yeah, I mean sometimes someone's genuinely saying something horrible, and sometimes they've just been taken horribly out of context, and you really do have to do your homework to see which it is.
Absolutely.
Sometimes.
Next
But,
up, Thomas A. Cena said the
mm-hmm.
monologue was real and uncomfortable, but I think the show quickly settled down. I thought it was a good episode and also 100% understand if anyone refused to watch and respect any cast members or others on the staff who protested in any way. Yeah, I agree. Like if you're somebody
Mm-hmm.
who didn't watch this episode or if you're a cast member who didn't want to partake in it, I totally respect that. I totally understand that. You know, I give you all the props in the world for doing that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and we should mention also Thomas Cena with an S. He's also the co-host of the SNL Hall of Fame podcast.
yes, which I was on. So go back and listen to that. I recorded 2 episodes, but I think they put out the Tom Hanks episode.
Mm.
You know, so go,
Get to hear Darren's hot takes on Tom
hot
Hanks.
takes and
'Cause that guy's had an easy ride for way too long.
but yeah, like it was a lot of fun. It was like a whole episode where we talked about Tom Hanks and his histories with SNL, and I believe I recorded another episode where we talked about Dana Carvey, but I don't know if they released that yet.
Oh, okay, all
So
right.
check it out, SNL Hall of Fame.
Yeah, check it out. And then lastly, we have Eric Coomer, who I don't think he's commented on our threads before. So welcome, Eric. He just says, that was a classic.
There you go.
So,
Thanks, Eric.
yeah, diversity of opinions here. Yeah, I felt like it was generally a strong episode of SNL. And, but I also get the controversy. I get why some people chose not to participate. I'd love to know, just the gossip in me would love to know, like, Okay, who boycotted the show?
Yeah.
Um, and and what is that like when somebody says, "No, I'm not gonna do anything for the show this week."
Uh, I don't know. I mean, I guess you kind of have to respect their stance, and because you don't want to sort of create an environment in the workplace where you're like, well, you have to because you signed
Yeah,
a contract and you're gonna perform, dance monkey.
yeah,
You can't
yeah.
have
I
that.
mean, because you don't. Yeah, like an employer shouldn't be able to force someone to do something that is against their morality or ethics.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I hope the show would be understanding and supportive enough of that to be like, "Hey, I get where you're coming from. If you don't want to do the show, you don't have to do the show." And I hope that doesn't come back and bite them in the ass anymore. But it can't feel great to know like the show is basically endorsing this person by saying, "Yeah, we're going to have these people, this person with the views you find reprehensible on the show."
yeah. I
So
mean, it's the same. I mean, it's happened for years. Like it happened
yeah,
last year with Elon Musk and Donald
hmm
Trump, and
hmm
I mean, all the way back to Andrew Dice Clay. It's
yeah, where Nora Dunn famously chose not to be on that show.
yeah.
And
So
I think she was even talked about that on Twitter a bit this week. Don't have the tweets up right now, but yeah.
yeah, it is. I don't know. It's a dicey subject, and but I don't know. Hopefully, it'll all work out.
Well, I think we've discussed it from every angle, and I think we've now resolved this issue. It's never going to be a problem again.
Yep, we solved it, guys. We
So
did it.
you're welcome, America.
Hey, USA, USA,
USA,
USA,
USA.
US. All right, so SNL is taking a break for 2 weeks, and it's coming.
Taking a break.
Yeah, and it's coming back on December 3rd. We found out uh,
Yeah.
with guest host Kiki Palmer and musical
Kiki Palmer.
musical guest SZA.
SZA.
Hmm.
SZA. Just SZA. I like that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's catchy.
Kiki Palmer. I mean, this is a. I think this is a very popular get. I've seen online a lot of people were really wanting to have her host a show. For
Uh
those that
huh.
don't know, she's an actress who's been around for a while. She's a child actress. I believe she started on like the Disney show.
She was a Nickelodeon
Was
person. I was
Oh,
seeing.
Nickelodeon or Disney, one of those
Yeah,
things. I think.
but she was like a child star.
Yeah. Most recently, she was on in the movie Hustlers with Jennifer Lopez, and she was in the recent Jordan Peele movie Nope, which was very good. Which is,
Oh, so did she do that thing where like to prove that when they're coming out of the child stardom, they do like sort of a more sexual role to like prove I'm an adult now.
yeah, I'm a grown up. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess so.
that seems to be a real go-to thing
You gotta
for a lot of the female child stars, at least. I don't you don't see it much. Like we never had Keenan playing
like
a male prostitute or something
not
to
yet.
prove I'm not the guy from Good Burger anymore.
Yeah, I'm sexy. Uh, oh boy. Yeah, you're welcome for that image, listeners.
Yep, you're welcome.
But yeah, as a kid, Kiki was in Degrassi, The Next Generation,
Okay.
True Jackson, VP, which was on Nickelodeon. Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
she did a lot of stuff as a kid. If you remember the movie Aquila and the Bee from back in the day,
I do not.
I think that was a movie with I want to say Queen Latifah is uh
All right, let's say Queen Latifah then.
let's say Queen Latifah. But yeah,
Yeah.
but she's a very popular celebrity. She has a huge
Yeah.
following online. A lot of people love her. I've seen her interview. She has like a very warm, personable personality. A lot of she people really like her. Like to the point that I think it was like
Hmm.
a couple of months ago, people really want her to be Rogue when Marvel does the X-Men in the MCU.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was a whole thing. Like the same way people really wanted John Krasinski to be Mr. Fantastic, people were like, "Yo, Kiki Palmer should be Rogue," and like to the
Hmm.
point that even Kiki was like tweeting out, "Yeah, I'd love to be Rogue if MCU want to, tweet at me, let me know." And she also kind of, fed the fire a little bit where this past Halloween she did some cosplay as Rogue from
No, that's
yeah,
cool.
and like
All
it
right.
kind of went viral a little bit. So the fact that she's hosting SNL, I think a lot of people are looking forward to it. A lot of people really want this episode to happen. So I think this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, you're always hoping for a strong show. And what about SZA? Are you familiar with SZA, or is SZA new to you?
I'm somewhat familiar with her. I know she's a R&B singer from New Jersey, Jersey's own.
Okay, cool. Jersey represent.
Yeah.
SZA's new to me. I'll be going into this show pretty cold.
Yeah, she's from Maplewood. I think I know some people that knew her growing up.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah,
Look at you,
yeah,
like being social.
yeah. I'm friends with celebs. Um,
Yeah, okay, I got it.
but yeah. She's a R&B singer. Has very slow, sultry songs, and she's a big personality. And I think this is a great matchup. I think this is going to be a very interesting episode. So December 3rd, Kiki Palmer and SZA.
SZA, be there.
Yeah.
And then, 2 days later, be here for the SNL Nerds podcast, where we tell you what we thought about it, and by implication, how you should feel about it.
Indeed. Listen to our thoughts and make them your thoughts.
Yes. And next week, should we announce what we're doing next week? I think we kind of settled what we were doing next week, right?
We did.
Or is that actually no? We have a possible guest, and we're not entirely sure about that. So maybe we shouldn't say.
Okay. All right. We'll keep it on the back burner. We'll keep it on the low.
Because like if the person can't do it, we're going to hold this movie for that person, right?
Yes, I would say so.
That's where we came down on that.
Yes, that's
okay.
Absolutely.
And this is a very busy person.
Yeah,
a very important person. So
busy man of note.
A busy man. Yeah, we can say he's a man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He's a manly man.
He's a man amongst men.
He could be a Superman.
We're
a Superman of sorts.
Yes. Yes. Brandon Routh is going to be on the podcast.
I thought it was Henry Cavill.
Oh, did we double book? Fuck.
Damn it. Okay. Anyway.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, we're going to do a thing, and we think what will be amusing. Like, literally, it came up that we were possibly doing this movie, and this person was like, oh, I want to do that. So, yeah, we're just gonna work out the scheduling.
Yes, we'll work it out.
Hopefully, it'll work out.
Yes. Yeah. So tune in and see who the mystery guest is, and that's our episode, guys. Thanks for listening. As always, thank you for supporting. Thank you. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at SNL Nerds Show. As always, you can donate to our Patreon. Go to Non-Productive.com /SNL Nerds. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Darren Credible. That's DARIN Credible.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Trumbull Comic. That's TRUMBULL and the word comic. And I guess I should mention, the GoFundMe that I mentioned and talked about last week, that is still going. Still not quite at my goal, still not quite out of the woods yet. So if you can do that and help me out, that would be really appreciated.
Yes. Please give. Stuff. Be generous.
Please give.
Tis the season.
Yes. So, I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else important that we had to say that we haven't said. So,
yeah.
Well, all right then. So, we'll see you next week. But until then,
nerds out.
Have fun blending those two together, Frank.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.